Hello, this is Maria Borgoff, and today I want to talk about kind of curing this feeling of boredom, right? So, we've all said the words, I'm so bored, or I'm bored, and we've all heard other people say this before. And so, I got to thinking, what is boredom and where does it come from? And for me personally, I found that I was feeling bored, or people might be expressing boredom when they are in situations that they feel like they are too familiar with. So they're in a place that is boring. But what makes that experience boring? Really, it's coming from that experience being too familiar, whether it's the people, they feel like they know them already, whether it's the place, they feel like they know that place, they've been there before, or whether it's the activity or maybe the job that they're completing, they feel like they know everything that there is to know, and so it's boring. They're just going through the motions. And so I got thinking more about this, and for me, how I've kind of dealt with this feeling, especially when I am in a long-term relationship with the same person, when I am living in the same place, wanting to travel but not being able to travel in that moment, and then when I'm kind of doing the same activities every day, how can I feel this sense of excitement in that experience that could be considered boring because I already know it, I've already done it, maybe I've done it many times, maybe I've seen that person many times. So, how can I still create this sense of excitement, this sense of interest, and this kind of how can I feel inspired and passionate about this experience when it is boring, maybe to start with? So, I like to think of this idea as finding a new familiar. So we're already familiar with something, and that causes us to feel bored because we already think we know everything there is to know about that person or that subject. And so we stop asking questions. We stop expressing our curiosity. We stop trying to learn more about that environment, more about that person, more about that activity, because we're already familiar with it. We think we know everything there is to know. Our work is done here. And so we stop asking questions. And when we stop asking questions, when we stop expressing our curiosity, we actually stop living, because what else is there to do in our life except for learn more about our experiences, learn more about people, learn more about places, about things and new skills. So when we stop asking questions, when we determine something as familiar, when we say that we know everything there is about a subject, everything that there is about a person, then we experience boredom, and we also are stopping living. We kind of cease to exist as a breathing, living person, and instead we're just going through the motions. And that's where we start to feel bored. So I had this idea of looking at something that you already know, looking at a person that you already think you know really well, and trying to find a new sense of familiar, trying to find something about that person or place or thing that you have never seen before. And it might be difficult at first because a lot of times we look at someone who we know really well and we just assume that we know everything about that person. But how can we look at these things that are already familiar to us? How can we look at them as if we have never seen them before? How can we walk into our house that we've lived in for quite a while and look at it as if we have never been in it before? How can we explore the city that we live in as if we have never been there before? So I like to kind of word things in that way. Sometimes in my yoga practice, when I send my gaze over my fingers, or when I focus my gaze on one point, maybe onto my feet, or again, my hands, I look at my hands or my toes as if I have never seen that part of my body before, which is quite a challenge because I see my hands and my feet every single day, and I have ever since I've been alive. But when I look at it in this new perspective, with this new sense of curiosity, as though I've never seen these hands before, what new thing can I discover? In that process, I'm trying to find a new familiar. I'm trying to find something new. And maybe I discover it, but maybe I just have this whole new experience of that thing, of that person, of that place. There is this part of the Radiance Sutras, which is a part of a tantric text. And I love this line. It says, if you want to know the universe, dare to love one person. Now, this isn't saying love only one person and just one person. What this is saying is that the universe exists in one person. Likewise, the universe exists in one leaf, in one blade of grass, in one slice of an orange. And so if we want to know the universe, if we want to experience this feeling of being fully alive, fully enveloped in the essence of life, of what it means to be a human, then we can dare to love one person. We can dare to focus our attention fully and use our sense of curiosity to love one thing. And what does it mean to love? It means to fully embrace it, to absorb yourself in it, to know it fully. And when we look at it in this context, when we look at knowing the universe and finding excitement, not being bored, again, we're really talking about being fully alive. And I don't know about you, but I like to feel alive. I like to feel like I am making the most out of every single minute of my day. And so when I'm feeling bored, it's kind of a sense of laziness because I've stopped asking questions. I've stopped looking for the details in my experience. I've stopped interacting with my world, and I've started acting in a way that I already know everything. And so I challenge you, when you are feeling bored, when you hear someone else say that they're bored, I challenge you to try to find a new familiar. Try to look at your experience that you're having, no matter how familiar it is. Try to look at it as if you have never seen it before. What is there that you can discover more? What is there that you can embrace more and love more deeply? And how can you know the universe by loving and embracing that familiar experience in a new way? So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is interesting. To kind of lead off of this note, because I kind of took something from the Radiant Sutras, at the end of August 26th through 28th, I'm going to be leading a Tantra Yoga immersion. And in this weekend, we're going to have 3 workshops. Jackie DeConti and I are teaching these 3 workshops, and we're going to be diving into the Radiance Sutras, this Tantric yoga text, where it uses these meditations and these perspectives of the world to enter into this state of wonder, this feeling of awe. And when we look at the world in this way, when we look at our experiences from this perspective, there is nothing to be bored about. There is always something to discover, always something to embrace, always something to make us feel alive. So if you're interested in that and you're in Wilmington, North Carolina, then I suggest you check out my shop where you can learn more about the workshop, or you can feel free to contact me. Maybe you comment below this video if you have any questions, or if you like this idea of finding a new familiar. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.